Good morning. First, I'd like to thank the organizers of this AI for Information Accessibility Conference for inviting me to present to you today. Um, my presentation is going to be focused on how the public accounts committees in parliaments can harness the digital transformation to provide a better oversight over the government operations. Um, the presentation will include first to highlight what we consider as a key aspects of the digital transformation that will enable the oversight and most importantly the use of data and the digital technologies such as the AI to improve the way that the parliament works, particularly on its role on the oversight of public finances for the executive. Now, if you look at that particular role, that role usually is executed through parliamentary committees that are established as appropriate mechanism to execute this oversight mandate. And specifically, public accounts committees act as a parliamentary watchdog over where taxpayers' money is spent. It is therefore important to focus on how the digital technologies as well as the availability of data can actually be harnessed to improve the transparency of these operations. Improving the transparency of these operations will not only increase the oversight but it will also enhance the public trust in government. Now, research has shown that in the Eastern and Southern African countries, the right of access to information really varies, from those where the public accounts committees can only have access to national government departments, to the areas where you would find that the Public Accounts Committee has both access to the national government and the subnational government departments, as well as all other types that receive public funding. This will include the NGOs and government service providers, and this is the case for South Africa, for instance. Now, how can we use the digital transformation to improve these public accounts? Now, the first really thing that we want to highlight here is to improve the transparency and accountability by making government data available and transparent. It will increase the accountability in the government to make oversight more efficient and effective. Some of the ways in which the digital technologies can be used by public account committees, and these are some of them, it includes to collect and analyze data, to enable the engagements with citizens and civil society, to collaborate with other stakeholders that may not necessarily be included in the others, and to improve transparency in the government operations. And this last point is the one that is the main focus of this particular presentation. But before we go to the improvement of the transparency in government operations, we just want to highlight how digital technologies can be used to collect and analyze data that can help the committees. Now, with that, once the data is available, which the committees can enable the departments to make that data available, they can easily identify the patterns and trends in government spending, for instance, which could also be way in which you can flag the potential areas of waste and corruption by just analyzing the spending data as of, against the budget that has been provided, and can make more informed decision about where to focus their oversight efforts. And some of the tools that they can actually use to do this will include predictive analytics, and to put the machine learning capabilities whilst the data is available to them. Now, the second part would be the engagement with citizens and civil societies, and the Public Accounts Committee can use these technologies to engage with citizens and civil society in a variety of ways, which will include through online platforms where citizens can submit complaints and feedback, or by using social media to share information about their work and solicit input from the public. And some of the areas that could be used is to include the online surveys, social media listening tools, and video conferencing platforms. Currently, most of those are used one way, but they should also be used in a way to collect the information. And by collaboration with other stakeholders, public accounts committees can use these digital technologies um, to collaborate with others such as government agencies, civil society, and private sector by sharing data and information, by working together on joint investigations and audits, by developing common standards and frameworks. Now, the final leg that I said will focus on would be more on the improvement of transparency in government operations, which in a sense is embracing the concept of open government. The concept of open government is embraced globally as the use and governance of data and digital technologies to improve transparency in government operations. Um, and South Africa is one of the founding members of the Open Government Partnership that was established in 2011 to really drive this issue of the use and governance of data and digital technologies. And the initiative's main aims are to promote transparency, to empower citizens, and to fight corruption, and to harness new technologies to strengthen governance. Now, each member commits to an action plan developed with public consultation and commits to reporting on the progress. Now, this is a mechanism that could be used by the public accounts committees as well to understand the commitments towards these particular ideals by many of the countries that are there. And how can that be done? And the parliamentary committees really would find benefit in engaging in the open government process, which is really open to parliaments as well as the other branches of government. And it supports many of the aspirations of parliament. For the executive branch, for instance, parliamentary engagement opens up the opportunities for securing legislation that actually enables executive branch commitments, resource for implementations, as well as institution reforms. As an example, if the commitment is to have open data and open data exchange platforms, then the parliament will enable that by opening up the legislation where there is a need. For parliaments themselves, it's, from the domestic perspective, is to mechanism to hear from citizens and civil society between electoral cycles on how they can better serve the people they represent. These mechanisms will really enable better accountability in the long run. For civil society organization, the parliamentary engagement is a crucial aspect of securing the sustainability of reforms across administrations and political cycles. So some of the options that the parliaments have to engage in open government is really in two aspects. First aspect is action plan development. An action plan development could be both in the identification, solution mapping, and identifying priorities, or through co-creation of commitments with governments. And a number of governments on the African continent are already engaging in this particular aspect. Good examples would be Cape Verde, Nigeria, and Kenya, which are using this form of engagements from the parliamentary perspective. The second aspect is implementation and monitoring of action plans. And this is really a key aspect, and this can be done through legislative action to implement the open government commitments, or through just the legislative oversight of the open government commitments and activities. This will really require that the executive does a reporting on the commitments, as well as the activities in those particular commitments. So, in conclusion, we see that digital transformations offers a number of opportunities for public accounts committees to improve their oversight work. And by using these digital technologies to connect and analyze data, engage with citizens and civil society, and to collaborate with other stakeholders, Public Accounts Committee can make more significant contribution to transparency and accountability in government. Thank you.